Welcome back here today on the beautiful campus of Florida Panhandle Technical College, talking today about a very exciting subject near and dear to our heart, and that is drone technology. Unmanned aerial vehicles, more commonly called drones, an opportunity for somebody with a pocket full of money to be able to go out and get the newest technology, sometimes getting themselves into trouble, certainly having some safety issues. When we come back, we're going to be talking to George Gay and Nikki Lovett from the Marianna Fire Department about just that, the brand new drone program right here on the campus in Chipley, Florida of Florida Panhandle Technical College, dealing with safety, dealing with the legalities involved. If you have a drone and you want to make money with it, this is one you're probably not going to want to miss because you're going to need that FAA Part 107 certification. And coming to this program is going to allow you to do that with a minimum of expenditure and sweat. And when we come back, we're going to talk about all this and more, and we will be right back. Welcome back here today with George Gay and Nikki Lovett, both from the Marianna Fire Department. You guys just recently finished up your classroom training here at the Technical College in the brand new inaugural drone program. Subsequent to that, went to Daleville, Alabama, and passed your Part 107 certification with the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration. People don't realize that they can very easily get themselves into trouble in so many ways with drones.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's start at the beginning. We have George Gay and Nikki Lovett from the Marianna Fire Department. George, when did you first find out that the Technical College was going to be offering this drone program?
You know, I've owned a drone for several years and really didn't realize how much trouble you get into. And even being in emergency services, I didn't have any idea. I'd been looking around and I seen an article pop up about a year ago where y'all were looking to get in the program. So I made a phone call over, talked to Ms. Compton. She advised me, yes, she'd put me on the list, and they were looking at doing an inaugural class. Later on, she called, and we got in the class sometime in June, I believe. And wow, how much trouble can you get in? It is pretty amazing.
Nikki, you are actually the chief of the Marianna Fire Department, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Obviously, you work very closely with George for the same municipality. Is that about the same way that you found out about the program?
Yes, sir. He came into my office and we both own drones, and he said, Chief, there's some issues. And whenever, people come to you and say there's some issues, you tend to perk up your ears and you start listening to them. And it was a legitimate issue. And I realized, like Captain Gay said, how much trouble we can get into by not being certified and legal from the legal aspect side of it. So I joined in the class with him. He coerced me into coming. He had to really twist my arm. So we got in, and wow, like he said, the things that we learned that we didn't know, and it was very informative, and the instructors were outstanding. Ms. Compton is a godsend here at the program. She runs a tight ship, and all of the instructors were very helpful in getting us where we needed to be able to pass the FAA 107. It's a very tough test, and they equipped us with the tools that we needed to be successful.
People automatically presume, because somebody's in law enforcement or fire service or any of the public services, that they are under that umbrella of legality, and that if you see a fireman or a policeman out there operating a drone, hey, they must be legal to do so. There have been a lot of changes, a lot of muddy information out there, a lot of disinformation, non-information, wrong information. At one time, it was the Wild West, and anybody who wanted to buy an unmanned vehicle, whether it was a boat or a car or something that flew, not a whole lot of licensing involved. I think that the FCC regulated some of the frequencies that the remote controls were run on. But when drones first hit the scene, there were a lot of videos on YouTube crashing into windows on the 10th floor of a Manhattan, New York apartment, running into a bride during a wedding shoot, all kinds of horror stories. That was bad enough because we're saying, okay, these people obviously don't know how to operate the equipment, so that's one whole issue. Then we found out, okay, now anybody with a drone is going to have to register. Let's start from there, George. Initially, if you were going to operate a drone, you had to register. Talk a little bit about that process and how that all fell into place.
I'd had my drone about a year when that law came into effect. And when the law came into effect, they actually it was 30 days. So within 30 days we need to register. Sounds a little intimidating because you literally go to FAA's website and it's like you're registering a plane.
When it's a .gov, you start paying
Yeah,
attention.
when it's a .gov, you start paying attention. So we went in, logged in, and matter of fact, I logged mine in before Chief did his, and I logged in, and they asked a lot of information. I've done a lot of background checks in my career, and they asked pretty much right down to your firstborn. And then they assign you a number. They had a little waiting period, and once the waiting period come back, it cleared you to have the number, and then advised you where the number had to be posted at all times. That was the first step. So we done that, and that's when we really started realizing, hey, they're serious about this. And so you ask, what does the number do? Well, the number does the same principle as it would on a helicopter or a plane. If we have an accident, or God forbid we crash into another aircraft, when the investigation takes place, NTSB can come in and say, oh, wait a minute, here's who registered it, this is where the drone come from. Oh, no problem, this belongs to Mr. Gay, and next thing you know, you're on Dateline.
Now, originally, if I'm not mistaken, for anybody, whether it was for revenue generation or just as a hobbyist, you registered, but you were registering yourself as a drone operator. And if you had 10 drones, the same number would pertain.
Absolutely the same number.
That has since changed several times, and there's different permutations. At that time, there was what was called the 333. If AA had the 333 exemption, it was sort of the commercial exemption to be able to fly drones. You could make money taking pictures or video, doing search and rescue, all the permutations. We'll talk about the applications here in a minute. That has since either gone away or has changed, and now the big thing is the Part 107. Nikki referred to it. That was the thrust of this program, but what the school did is encapsulated that program with a safety program. So there was a huge stress on what is safe, lots of map reading. Talk a little bit about coming into that drone program, knowing that you had to have that 107, which you were going to acquire through the program. But talk about maybe what your expectations were versus what you really ended up having in that class.
Right. Well, when you say, well, you're signed up for a drone program, so tell my wife and our employer, you tell them, they go, yeah, y'all just signed up for something, you don't play with toys. Y'all, that's just big boy toys. And I mean, really, thought, oh, we're going to get to fly, because the school does have some amazing drones. Not that ours are not great, but they have some amazing equipment here. Oh, we're going to get to fly all these amazing pieces of equipment. Upon entering the class, there was months and months of training that had nothing to do with actually flying a drone.
About 5 months of classroom.
Yeah, and it was the safety aspect too, like you said, the reading of the maps, knowing where your airspace is. Airspace being a big deal. Whether you realize it or not, almost anywhere you go in this part of Florida, you're in someone else's airspace. And when I say airspace, where a certain licensed airport or flight capability, from whether it be a military or civilian, is licensed to fly. And you have to stay out of them airspaces. You're not allowed in them airspaces without permission, just like any aircraft. And so that was a big aspect. The other thing was weather. What do we do for weather? We pick up our phone, we look at our phone, hey, that's what the weather is. Well, there's a lot more to it. We have to know what the weather is going to be an hour from now. We have to know what the weather is going to be 2 hours from now. We have to know what the current conditions are at certain levels in the sky, not just where we're standing. That was amazing, having to go through and realize, wow, there is so much more to this. Right. Instead of just going out, turning on your drone, take off and go fly, there's prep work. They a good 15 to 20 minutes of pre-flight time of just finding this out. Building a log, building a flight plan, building a crash plan. Who would have ever known that?
Nikki, we found out as the class progressed that actually what the class was the first part of a private pilot's license. And anyone going out there who wanted to get into a cockpit of any aircraft would actually start with this kernel of this program. Again, Nikki, what was some of the more intimidating parts of the classroom part?
Well, the first time that I looked at an aeronautical map, I was terrified. I saw these circles, these lines.
I don't think dots. You were alone.
Yeah.
And you could see the sheer terror on my face. But with the instructors that's here at Florida Panhandle Technical College, Ms. Compton, Brandon, they made it so much easier and understandable because they took bits and pieces and broke it down. And before we knew it, we were on point learning the map like the back of our hand. And that was paramount in passing the 107 is learning how to read an aeronautical map. And so.
Yeah. We had the fortune of being able to follow the footsteps of FPTC staff who went through the program initially to become certified as teachers. We have 5 on the campus right now who are all capable of teaching, but who all hold that Part 107 FAA certificate. The interesting thing about drones is pretty much anything about drones. The capabilities just expand the longer you just start learning about them. We have found that Gulf Power is now using them to survey their high power lines, where before they had to wait for a helicopter with pilot, with observer, with binoculars, and then maybe with a camera to shoot that, or now you can program a flight, take off here, program it to end over there. In the meantime, it follows every jog, every dog leg in that power line, shooting video and photo the entire time. George, one of the things that seemed to make the class a lot more interesting and pertinent to the real world was the fact that we were contracted by the Economic Development Committee that is in charge of the Highway 79 project to help them out. Talk about what the class ended up doing on that situation.
One of the projects we were given while we were in class is Brandon, one of the instructors, said, look, we've got a project which y'all be interested in, and which obviously we were anytime to get involved. And we were able to take the drones out, use some mapping software, and we mapped about a 4 by 4 mile by 4 mile area that we actually mapped out. And where that's saved is that's something that had to been done with a helicopter, aircraft, because you're dealing with, right next to that, you're dealing with a prison and a hospital, so you have flight issues you have to deal with. We had to get special permission from ATC to make sure we could perform in them areas. We had to get a NOTAM to other pilots. Essentially what that is we get notification that, hey, we'll be flying drones in this area at this radius and at this height. And so then they notify all the pilots in the area to know that during these times you'll be out there. The prison, we had to notify the prison. That's just one of them things that's a whole different legal system to go through. Hey, we're going to be next to your prison. We're not breaking no one out of jail. We're actually working to make sure they don't shoot it down. But that was interesting. That was very interesting. And the thing is, that's something that's going to be used for years to come. All the data we pulled in there at a very small cost. I don't know what the dollar amount we saved them in money, but that is something that's going to help the community as they develop that 79 interchange.
You mentioned that you had drones years in advance of taking this class, years in advance of knowing that there was regulation.
Oh, absolutely.
The interesting part, and the somewhat disconcerting part, is that the FAA is constantly changing the makeup of this legal part of drone regulation. And in all fairness, it's because it's brand new to them, just like it's brand new to us.
You have to stay current in your studies of what's going on in the ever so changing world of the drone world. And if you don't stay current, you can get left behind, and you can get yourself into some trouble if you don't know the legalities of what you're doing.
I know one thing that really got your attention, Nikki, was the fact that you'd be able to use drones in emergency situations, but even beyond that, on everyday surveying situations. I'm going to ask you about the emergency, and then, George, maybe we can talk a little bit about your part of surveying buildings. Nikki, right now we have a real huge legal issue and safety issue, and one of the biggest points of concern right now are drone pilots trying to get those first action shots of house fires, vehicle accidents. They're getting in the way of first responders. They're getting in the way of news helicopters, legitimate TV station news helicopters, and more and more we're seeing this. What was it about the drone that you felt would be useful in the fire service?
Well, because we would have a bird's eye view of what's going on, and you have a captain in charge of a rig, when they initially get on scene, they're doing what we call a scene size up. So they're looking at everything from a 360 point of view around that area, whereas with the drone, we can give them a above ground 360 area so that they don't miss anything as far as something that's critical that can get their people injured if they don't make changes in their tactical plan to be aware of. So the legalities are changing, and I'm sure legislation is coming down about other people being in emergency areas during an emergency flying a drone. I think that issue is going to be addressed, and it's just, there's so much that goes on with dealing with a drone that, it's mind-blowing.
You mentioned the legalities. From an FAA point of view, they legislate that there must be a pilot in charge. Right. So there is somebody to whom we can look and say, you are responsible.
Absolutely.
So you may have 3 or 4 people all operating drones, but that one person in charge who has that 107 dispensation would be the one that would be responsible. In your case, you'd be talking about adding personnel to your roster, somebody whose main function, and probably other things that they would do as well. In this case, I can see George fitting the role quite well, but you would actually have to have somebody who would be that
Right,
pilot in charge.
absolutely.
We call that crew management resources in our class and what we learn. And ultimately, the pilot is in charge of the whole operation. Now, you may have somebody else manipulating the controls, but the pilot is ultimately responsible for the actions of those individuals that's on the team.
George, in a non-emergency world, you perform the duties of fire marshal, and part of that has to do with building department and all kinds of other things, which frankly most of us don't think about on a
Right.
day-to-day basis. Talk about the importance and the value and the cost saving of having that drone as an aerial photo and video platform in those kinds of things.
Right. One of the things we have to do is everything is based on the ISO, which is your insurance rating. We're an ISO rating of 4 inside the city of Marianna. We're very proud of that ISO rating.
That's low.
It's very low, especially for our area and the size of our department.
Before you go further, talk about how that affects the average person and
The
their
average
wallet.
person, the way it is, the scale is from 1 all the way up to 10. 10 means you have no fire protection whatsoever, 1 being the best of the best.
And at 10, you're paying the highest insurance
At the 10,
rates.
you're paying the highest insurance rate, and it can be anywhere from 10 to 20% greater insurance rate per number as you go up. And so by us being an ISO rating of 4, well, not only does it promote businesses, because businesses, you take a large business, Family Dollar, for instance, you do business with Family Dollar, they come to Jackson County because we're an ISO rating of 4. It's saving them millions of dollars on insurance over a period of time. So we take it very serious on things we can look at to make that better. One of the things we have to do, we have to have a tactical plan for every single commercial building inside the city of Marianna, and the greater area for that matter. So what we've always done is we've always had to manually go out, we take a tape measure, we measure out, we use a little bit of Google Earth, but the problem with Google Earth, it's not real time. So things change, buildings change, roofs change, maybe a 5-year-old picture, maybe a different type roof, maybe a different parking lot next to it. Maybe that building's not even there anymore. So one of the things we can do to help with our ISO is when we go out with a drone, I can take a certain block that we're working to, say we're taking, say, Madison Street and Jackson Street. We want to take in these 2 streets. We want to make sure we get whatever we're surveying done. We can do it in half the time. Not only can I do it in half the time, when I get back, I've got real up-to-date photos. I've not had to put anybody on a ladder to climb on top of a
Safer.
roof. I've not had to
That's nice.
have the danger of anybody walking around and damaging anybody's roof. Not only that, I may see something from that bird's eye view. You know what? That's probably not a good place to put our fire truck. You know, we probably need to put it over here. This would be a better tactical position on it. To take that one step further, not only can we do it with pre-fire planning of these buildings, when we have a major fire, like the Daffin fire, if we'd had this in use during the Daffin fire, and for record, the Daffin fire, one of the largest buildings in Jackson County, caught fire about 6 months ago. About 6 months ago. If we'd had the drones on the truck during that time, we could have launched a drone and actually seen a better tactical view. Unfortunately, we were running 3 tactical sides of this building, and it was only by radio, so you was having to paint a picture by radio conversation, which we've done for years. But how much better, radio conversation or being able to actually see a picture, a live picture of, hey, this is the way the fire's progressing, this tactic's working, this tactic's not working. Something else we found in that same aspect, part of mine and Chief's job is we kind of fill in for other places. Like our IT guy called us a few months ago and said, listen, we really need, for our new website, we really need some footage for the upcoming website that's going online for the city of Marianna. So we were able to go out, and instead of having to use a third party, we were able to take that B-roll footage, bring it back, give it to our IT guy, say, okay, here you go. They could send it to the developer and the promoter, and they take that information and save a substantial amount of money to the tax dollars. Another thing we're able to do, one of the grants they applied for in the city a little while back, we were able to go out, they had to have some aerial photos of it. Well, their only choice was Google Earth, or hire a plane or helicopter to come by. We were able to go out, take some aerial shots, some up-close aerial shots. They could submit it with the grant program. They got the grant. They were awarded the grant. Did it make a difference? I don't know if it did or not, but it was a lot better stuff when you're submitting a grant. It's a better picture painted. Same principle, Chief was able to go out with our ball fields. They were able to go out because it's next to an airport. There was some stipulations there. You had to be under certain height, certain out of their airspace, but he was able to know where those airspaces was, or their airspace was, and go out and take footage of that where they could apply for a grant with that program.
And had I not been in the class, I wouldn't have had a clue about
It'd be
flying
illegal,
near
yeah.
an airspace, controlled airspace.
We're talking about saving time, we're talking about saving money. To me, the most glaring thing that we're overlooking is the potential of saving lives.
Oh, absolutely.
In an emergency situation in a fire, being able to spot somebody hanging out a window on the backside of that fire, but more importantly, again, as you point out, knowing the situation so you're not sending firemen into danger's way.
Absolutely.
They do that naturally as a point of,
Oh, yeah.
of reference, but to be able to avoid things that you can't
Right.
see.
Let's just take the Daffin building, for instance. That building was right at 86,000 square feet. Okay, so there was no way for me to do, as the incident commander, a complete walk around several times. Had we deployed a drone, we would have had a topical view to where I could have told Tactical Team 2, all right, the fire's progressing towards the east side of the building. Let's move our lines over there. Let's attack it from this side. And so it's critical for us moving forward in the technical age to have this technology at our hands at such a small price to the taxpayers.
So now we're talking about embracing a very new technology. We're talking about the educational process offered right here at Florida Panhandle Technical College. We're talking about adhering to all of the regulations set forth by the Federal Aviation Association. Let's get to where the rubber meets the road. We're talking about real-world applications in your
Absolutely.
municipal area of Marianna, Florida. How are you being received by the city?
They've really been supportive. At first, they were like everyone else. They were a little skeptical. Why,
They thought
why
it was a
are,
waste of money and
yeah,
time.
why, we talked to our city manager, and he's like, explain this to me. So we showed him the articles, and we talked to him. He said, okay. He said, I'll buy it. Let's try. So now that we've gotten through the class, during the time we've been in class, so many articles have come out in the state of Florida, including 850 Magazine has just had recently something about it.
Right. And we make it a point to forward those to the city manager.
Of how. And then also something else that happened is Hurricane Irma happened. Hurricane Irma has happened in recent months. Right. And drones have been used more with Hurricane Irma than any other disaster in Florida ever. To the point we were getting notifications on our email at work because they knew that we were a fire department in the area, and they would send, hey, we're needing people to come down. Have you got the 107 license? If do, here's the number to contact with FEMA. We're needing surveyors and rescue people. Right. And so that's what departments were doing. They were sending people down there. That could very easily been here. Right. And so after that, everybody's going, oh, wait, you're right. Because these are areas that people couldn't even get rescue teams into because there's no way to access these places. Right. With a drone, because you don't have to drive down a road, you can access these places. Right. It may be a case with a thermal imager, which with thermal imagers and flare system, you can actually go over an area, especially at night, and it'll show hot spots. Right. So if it had been a case that storm had come here, we could have launched our device, went over an area, and instead of having men searching for days in that area, within 5 minutes, look, there's no hot signatures here, it's safe, we've cleared this area, move on to the next.
And I tell you, Paul, with our Jackson County being as large land-wise as it is with 960 some odd square miles, we get a lot of civil alerts, because a lot of the elderly people get lost. Well, we
cases
can
of
search
dementia.
cases of dementia. We can search an area in a third of the time what it would take for a ground crews walking. So it's just.
And while you're doing that search, you can actually be aerial video or photoing at the same time. So not only are you seeing it live on your device, but you've actually got that footage that you can then pour over and enhance or whatever.
Right, absolutely. So let's say.
And if we see something that may be a person, we can go down, take a closer look. Oh, no, that was a deer running through the woods because of the heat signature. We can move on. And we can map it and say, hey, guys, we've searched this area, and delete that area from the search pattern. And so it makes it a lot quicker and a lot faster to save lives.
And the other thing you say, well, let's say you're searching a mile square area, and you do find that spot. Something that we have, the data that's actually on the device, it actually shows you a GPS coordinate of where it's sitting at that minute. So if we come over an area and say, oh, well, there's a hot spot, that's possibly someone there, you can go back and say, do y'all need to check coordinates this, this, and this? So instead of them having to march out through the woods, they take their GPS, walk straight to that location. There it is. It's either there's your victim or no, it's not your victim. That makes a big difference. It's time. It's all time. Time is life.
And well said. it's very easy to get excited about new technology because at the end of the day, as you were accused by the city, to geeks like us, we are playing. It's doing a job, but it's still exciting.
Oh, it is very
Absolutely.
exciting. Very exciting.
So it's really easy to get involved in that technology that is on the bleeding edge, that is fun, that is high tech, that is very impressive. But when the state of Florida, as they recently did, came out with a survey saying that in the next 10 years there will be up to 15,000 jobs in the Panhandle of Florida alone generated because of the drone industry.
That's big.
It is absolutely big. Now, you
very
may
big.
be adding one person to the Marianna Fire Department to operate that drone under emergency or non-emergency situations,
Absolutely.
and it would almost be a full-time job. Now you're talking about doing agriculture inspections. Talk a little bit about the agricultural application.
Well, like with agriculture application, we're an agricultural area. So let's take things that can do, and you'll see your farmers they're starting to wise up. For years now, farmers have GPS trackers, where whether you're around the farming industry or not, tractors can actually accumulate, and when they're going, say they're spraying their field, they're saving money this day and time because their computers know where to turn the spray heads on, where to turn them off. Well, the problem is they're having to build that map, drive it out and build it. With the drone technology, you can actually fly over the field, survey the field, map the field, and then input that data into the tractor. And so then the tractor comes back and it uses that to save money on where it's applying water,
time.
fertilize, disc, plow, whatever the case may be. That's a big deal. Another thing is you take the orange industry right this minute. In the orange industry in the state of Florida, they're having a major issue, with canker and everything else. And they go out and test these things. Well, there's so many orange, you don't know who's got an orange tree in their backyard. With this, you can actually, from the agricultural side, they can actually fly over. You know what? There's an orange tree, and they can locate these areas. It's endless. It's absolutely endless on what you can do with it.
Applications.
On the applications.
One of the things that's in the news a lot lately is the issue of privacy. How many times have we picked up a magazine or a newspaper or gone online and seen a story about somebody, for instance, a father shoots a drone out of the air because the drone was hovering over their backyard, which had a swimming pool, and unfortunately a 16-year-old daughter laying by the pool. Many cases, it's innocent. That drone just happened to be going by. Others, not so much. These people are using drones for voyeurism. They're looking in windows. They're trying to sneak peeks at people that are sunbathing. That's human nature. We're going to have all that,
Right.
but we also have to regulate it. Right now, what are some of the concerns when it comes to privacy, and what are we looking at as far as the issues?
Well, the things you have to look at right now is, one, is the laws are really not caught up to what you can do with a drone. Unfortunately, that's the case. Where even if there's a law in the book, there may not be a penalty for the law. So that's the downside. The other side of that is like you said, the drone may be flying by, somebody sees it, they panic, oh, why are they over me? Well, the FAA considers it an aircraft. Completely, it's an aircraft. If you shoot it down, it's no different than shooting a plane flying at an airport down. It's a federal offense. It is a very serious offense. And as long as that's the case and they don't iron out where is the line, where can you go and not go, common sense tells you that if that's this guy's property, you're not going to fly on his property and do voyeurism. But the people are out there, let's face it. And like you said, if they got a little bit of money in their pocket, they go buy it, and until they get caught. So what do you do about that? Well, education.
Well,
Education's got to be the thing. We've got to educate the public of, listen, they serve a purpose, they are a tool. While they can be a toy, they are a tool. This tool has to be used properly. You have to respect people's property. You have to respect, where you're flying. With us, for instance, when we fly, you'll never see me fly over someone else's property that we hadn't either got prior notification. Even at an emergency situation, if we were doing a search today and say we were searching for someone, let's take Compass Lake, very rural area. There's places down there that people just live up in the woods, big nice houses that you may not know they're on their property. Well, you do your homework. When you get there, you pull a Google map up. You know what? I don't see any houses in the area. No, we fly, we do our search because life and property. Life coming first, property coming second. But in the same sense, if we do come up and say, you know what, this section here has got 2 houses in it, we send law enforcement up. Hey, look, you need to make contact. We're going to be flying drones in the area. Maybe even give a radio announcement to the point that they put it on that radio waves. Missing person, drone activity will be in the area. That way the public expects it. They know that you're there and you have a purpose. Where you get in trouble is the ones that don't have a purpose. They buy them a drone at Best Buy. They go out. Oh, wow, that's a big old pretty brick house there. Let's see what's in the windows. And they go to flying and looking in the windows. That's bad.
or in the backyard.
Or in the backyard.
And I tell you, Paul, in this age that we live in, as far as public privacy, we really don't have privacy once you're out in the public because everybody has a cell phone with a camera on it. So it's just based on that individual person to have some morals about what they're doing and why they're doing it. If you're doing it for bad reasons, then bad things are going to happen. If you're doing it and you make a mistake, people can accept an apology and say, hey, I flew over your property inadvertently. I'm sorry. And, so I think it's based on the individual and their morals.
And well said. Something that I wouldn't have thought to address, but you're exactly right. This puts the onus of responsibility on the person with that controller in their hand.
Absolutely.
Just like the FAA looks at you as that remote pilot in charge, the legal system will also look at you as that perpetrator or not, depending on which side of that legal line that you are. Lots of ways to get yourself into trouble.
Oh, very much so. And the thing is, even with us doing everything by the book, being perfectly legal, accidents can happen. There's airports in every town, in every city. There's because you've got to understand, with this drone, we're licensed, we know where we can fly at. One of the questions, matter of fact, they have in the FAA test is the limit on where we can fly is 400 feet. 400 feet is the height that you can fly a drone without special permission. So if you're flying at 400 feet, which is with your limit, you're in your correct airspace, what if a plane is not in his correct airspace? Do you make contact with the plane and say, but I was right? No, you've got to avoid him. So it may be a case you have to go either higher than your airspace or lower than your airspace to avoid an accident. But if you have an accident, you're still at fault because you are the pilot in charge. Part of it is following those rules. And so even if you go everything by the book, take all the classes, all the rules, there's still accidents happen. They happen every day. And we've got to prevent less accidents. So the way to do that is being versed on what the rules are and educating the public.
From our point of view, our firm has embraced drone technology to a great degree. We use it. It enhances our video production.
Absolutely.
It allows us to do aerial photography. Our business is based in large part on video and photo. The good side and the counter to what you just said is that most drones, in the case of our firm, we use DJI products. There's firmware embedded in those drones and in those controllers, which is updated online every once in a while, that actually prevents you from going in certain areas like prisons and airports, or at least makes you aware of, for instance, a grass strip airport that may no longer be in existence, but was at the time that firmware was updated.
That's one of the things that I discovered learning the aeronautical chart. There's so many private airports that you wouldn't even think of that's in our area.
It's that guy's backyard.
It's a guy's backyard where he used to have an experimental plane, and it's still considered an airport, a runway strip, and you have to adhere to the laws, when flying in that area. So
it's an exciting time. It's an exciting technology. Thank you both for your time today. I look forward to having a conversation with you, being able to network with you over time. I'd like to follow up. You mentioned some projects you've got going on in Marianna. I think it would bear us spending some time with you from time to time in Marianna.
Absolutely. We'd love for you to come over.
Maybe seeing you doing some of the non-emergency surveying.
Absolutely.
We're not going to be closely involved with the emergency side of things, but we would still like to be able to cover the story more from a lesson of what not to do, because I think that it's part of all our responsibility. Once you become part of this drone community from a legal point of view, and you are FAA certified, there's even more responsibility on your shoulders.
Absolutely.
Nobody likes that guy that comes over to you in the parking lot while you're flying your drone saying, hey, you're doing this or this wrong. But at least if you're able to pass on some information, they can make up their own mind.
Right.
I don't think there's any doubt about the fact that not only is it an exciting time, but it's a more dangerous time than ever, because they said this year there were more drones sold than on any given holiday, because obviously the new technology, and it was one of the single biggest purchases dollar-wise in this Christmas gift-giving season. And we still have another month before Christmas.
We still have a month before Christmas.
So,
and new technology coming out every day.
So can you imagine the week after Christmas with all these kids still off school, how many
drones are in the area? Absolutely. Because they're going to fly on that day. And FAA says, hey, look, at the age of 13, you can register a drone. And so you're going to have 13-year-olds and up trying to register drones. But they're not going to have the class.
I know you guys are real busy, and I know we're looking at lunchtime and you getting back to work, but I really appreciate you taking the time, sharing your insight. I think that the best thing that I personally and our firm can do is to help spread the word, these
Absolutely.
conversations being educational in nature, so that we avoid some of the silliness going on around us. You've got the big bad government on one side, and you've got our human nature wanting us to do stupid things. Hopefully somewhere in the middle is where it
Absolutely.
gels. But again, thanks for being here
Right.
today.
And
Thank you.
Paul, I want to say thank you for having us. And I want to say that Marianna Fire Department is on the leading edge of technology. And we're both tech guys. We love gadgets. And our community, we can compare our community fire department to any other, and we stand out. And that's with the help of everybody that's within our organization, including Captain Gay, on up to myself. And we're so proud of what we're doing at Marianna Fire and Rescue.
Well said, and you got a plug in for Marianna at the,
Absolutely.
at the same time. Our guests today have been George Gay and Nikki Lovett from the Marianna, Florida Fire Department. Today talking about drone technology, talking about all of the advancements in this technology, the excitement that revolves around the technology, more importantly, the legal and moral issues, as Nikki pointed out. I wouldn't have used that word, but it's no more fitting than that word, because if you're doing something that you know you shouldn't do, then obviously it is a moral or ethic issue. But at the end of the day, hopefully these types of conversations allow you a little more information, a little more education about what's happening in that very exciting cutting edge, bleeding edge, might I say, drone technology. Hopefully you're going to do the right thing, and we encourage you, get a drone, get involved. There's a huge excitement and job opportunities. Right here at Florida Panhandle Technical College, we offer the brand new drone program, just one of 40 degree and certification programs. We offer to help you retool your life. If you've been downsized, lost your job, a nicer way of saying, want to get a new career, a new job, great place to look right here at Florida Panhandle Technical College. And the drone program might fit exactly what you're looking for. We'll be right back.